Welcome to Just Energy Radio with your host, naturopath and medical intuitive, Dr. Rita Louise. We have learned from Einstein's theory that matter and energy are one. Physicists believe that all systems in nature have their own particular way of vibrating. From the swinging of a pendulum to the waves of the ocean to the light that brightens the sky each day, each of these oscillates at its own unique rate. The same holds true for every thought, feeling, event, or word we speak. Each has its own frequency or rate of vibration. What many of us don't realize is when we take everything in our universe down to its simplest form, it is all just energy. Join Dr. Rita Louise on a journey through time and space where past, present, and future collide. Today, what you believe may be called into question. What we want to know is, who made up the rules? Be brave and step outside the box. We are about to turn our world upside down and venture into the unknown. Hold on. We are departing our own beliefs and entering alternative realms. Enjoy the possibilities.
Hello and welcome to Just Energy Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning into the show today. So if you pay attention to what's going on the Just Energy Radio website, we do have a little change of venue. We were supposed to have Dr. Heather Lynn coming on talking about ancient mysteries and stuff, but instead we're having Charlotte Szivak, and I'm hopefully saying her name right because it's spelled really weird. And we're going to be talking about the Akashic Records and divine unions and all kinds of, with Charlotte, you just don't really know where we're going to go, but we're going to have fun. So it's all good, and it'll be educational and informative. But don't forget, Just Energy Radio is brought to you by soulhealer.com, where you can find out about all the services that I offer, including medical intuition evaluations, psychic readings, and energy medicine healings. So please do go to soulhealer.com or drop me an email and set up a time for a session. It's also brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics. That's www.appliedenergeticsinstitute.com, where you can learn to become a healing arts practitioner. If you've missed an episode of Just Energy Radio, you can always check out our we have like 6 more weeks till we hit 7 years, the big 7-0 broadcast on the show. And all 7 years of archives can be found on the Soul Healer website, or you can go to the Just Energy Radio channel on YouTube. Or, of course, you can listen to it live here on the Inception Radio Network every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so a couple of very quick announcements. One of the things I've been talking about the last few weeks is AM14, Ancient Mysteries International 2014, going to be held in Angkor Wat. That really cool place in Asia with the giant heads that, I don't know, to me, it has this very old but very meditative feeling to it. So I'm very excited. And so it's myself, Bruce Cunningham, Stephen Knapp, and Sasha and Janet Lessing all are joining forces together to put this on for people just like you. Till the end of the month, they're offering discount pricing. And so to get more information, it is ancientmysteriesinternational.com, ancientmysteriesinternational.com. And the dates are March 22nd through 30th. And then one other quick announcement. Next Thursday is the Big Turkey Day, one of my favorite days of the year, to be honest with you. And we are having a very special show. In the first hour, I managed to get former Governor Jesse Ventura to join us on the show. In the second hour, an Inception Radio Network regular show host, Ted Torbich, and we're going to be talking conspiracies. And so it's going to be exciting. So don't watch football. Tune into the show. It's going to be great. Anyway, let me tell you a little bit about Charlotte. I'm sure she'll correct how I say her last name, and we'll just move right along from there. Charlotte Szivak is an ancient wisdom keeper, spiritual intuitive with full sensory perception, healer and teacher of metaphysics channeling the angelic, ascended masters, emissaries, and star councils of light. Overlighted by the order of Melchizedek, Metatron, and the company of heaven, Her transformational sessions will activate, inspire, and empower you to recognize and embrace your authentic divinity and connection to Source, instilling the wisdom of an open heart. So please welcome to Just Energy Radio, Charlotte Szivak. Hey, Charlotte, how are you?
It's really great to be here. Great to, hi.
Hi. So was I even close with your last name?
No, but that's all right. It happens all the time. That kind of freaks people out. So if you think or see Honda, or think of Honda Civic, it will be absolutely perfect.
I can do
Civic.
that.
Think Honda Civic.
Charlotte. Well, and when I was talking to you just before the show, I was like, oh, or when we had to come on, I'm like, oh no, I didn't ask her to say her last name. I mean, and maybe I would say it right, maybe not. That's, kind of a 50-50 chance.
Yeah, no big deal. It's great to be here. So, and
I just really appreciate you kind of coming on last minute. But we always have so much fun, so it's going to be good.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, you've been on my show too, and we just had a total blast. And it's always amazing to be able to share all the ideas and all the information, and loving the conspiracy theories. I'm going to be listening in myself next week because that promises to be a really kicker show. So
it is. Okay, so what I was thinking about talking about, or starting to talk about, is the Akashic Records, because that's a topic I've never covered on this show, and I think people, every so often I run across something that I haven't had a show about, and that was one. And so I'm like, that would be a good topic. So yeah. And so to just start off, because I think people maybe have heard that word, maybe not have heard that word. So maybe just provide kind of a general definition as to what the Akashic Records are.
Basically, they are a library of consciousness that are held on the etheric planes that you can access through meditation or through, depending on what person you might be dealing with, whether you're dealing with the shamans, or even you can do it through Egyptian alchemy, meditation, or following through the goddess, the rose lines with Magdalene, and there's just many ways of being able to access it. And it's really amazing because when you are able to go there, it's as if you bilocate, and you see yourself soul traveling, bilocating to the Akashic Records, and there is rows and rows and rows that are filled with all your contracts from your past, your present, and your future lives related to any of the lessons, the emotional wounds, anything that you need to learn or that your soul is still working through in embracing the next harmonic level of whatever the lesson is that is most suited to your atomic structure, but also to your specific individualized soul spark while aligned or while embodied in a physical body structure. But there's also Akashic Records as well across the universe, as to my understanding, for all the other, it's like a sort of like a satellite type of a library, where you have them also for the different solar rings, as well as the different parts of the cosmos in the universe, because we have, as I'm sure we all know, we'd be kind of ignorant to say that we're the only ones that live in this universe, that they are also for other aspects too, because there are many different types of species that are also going through their own lessons or through their own dimensions and their own frequencies or vibrational lessons that they also need to learn. So the Akashic Records were actually introduced to me through the Pleiadians when I really started to work through doing Egyptian alchemy. And the Pleiadians and the Syrians had brought that forth in the beginning. It was quite a few years ago. And we would travel in, and they would actually ask for you to place your hands facing upwards to the sky so that they could allow these contracts, which look like sheets of paper, to float down from the heavens above and to be placed into the palms of the hands. And they would literally look like a contract, where it would say contract, your name, and it would have your either a person or an emotional wound or a lesson that you would need to embrace or was no longer serving you in your soul's lesson or soul conscious evolution. And they will go through a different series of releasing that contract and helping you to integrate it back into your structure. And I want to use that word loosely because our physical structure, of course, we know is our vehicle, which is the vehicle for our soul, but also it's for the different light bodies that we also have as well, too. So as it was released and integrated back into the body, you would also have some of your soul fragments that would also appear, and soul fragments can tend to be either past lives that you've had or past experiences, karmic issues or relations that you might have had with other people, or a specific soul group or a monad, which is a larger group of a soul group. And so it's a really fascinating way to look at it. And it's not, I mean, there's many books out there on it as well, too, and to be quite frank with you, I haven't really read any of them. So this is all from just basic experience that I've gone through and what I've been told or taught through them. Another place that you can access the Akashic Records is if you go to Egypt. And actually, I'm going to be leading a group to Egypt in May, coming up 2014, where we go to Memphis, which is one of the sacred sites, the sacred temples. And Memphis is also a connection to the records, or the Hall of Records, or I'm sorry, not the Hall of Records, but the Akashic Records, to also access it from that angle as well. So there's many ways to access it. And again, depending on your vibrational frequency, meaning what lessons you've learned or embraced, or what rung of the chakra levels that you resonate at, it all shifts. So it's just a fascinating place to be. So it's just making me think of maybe we should even do an activation for the listeners and just see what the contracts are that come out. But the key to it is that when we're doing it is not to get emotionally caught up in the drama of the story. It's just to be able to release the emotion so that you have the memory of the emotion, but not the actual emotion. And that can help you to release the attachment and actually elevate your energy, your frequency, and your consciousness as well. So it's quite an intricate way of expressing and accessing another aspect to the soul. It's quite amazing.
Now, something that you said is very interesting to me. You know, you made a comment about it's about releasing the emotion, or to not have the emotional response, but you still have the memory, or you said something like that, and it was just kind of interesting how you put that. Could you explain that a little bit more?
Well, sure, because we have, with our different light bodies, we have, they say, actually I want to step back a bit because I seem to be coming into the chakra areas, because we seem to know that we think that we have 7 chakras, but as it turns out, we actually have 352. And each of these different chakras correlate with 24 chambers and 24 facets, as well as lessons related to 24 light aspects and 24 shadow aspects. And so it's all about embracing all of the lessons. Now, for anybody who is on the path of alchemy or is on the path of conscious awareness, I mean, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to do all of them, but as you meditate and as you work through all of your light body activations, you can embrace them, and you don't just work through just like the 7 that you have that we know of, but you can also work through up to 50 or 150 chakras. Now, depending on how dedicated you are or devoted to embracing this, what happens is you release the pain that has been locked within the physical body. So if you have any pain or emotional wounds, and this is where we would look into medical intuition, which is your right up your alley, and being able to understand that every single organ and tissue holds its own vibration, sacred geometry configuration, DNA. We don't want to get into the junk DNA stories too, but also the lesson of why it's happened. So as you find the pain that's within your body, if you're more perceptive, or you go to a healer or to a psychic or to a light body worker or light worker who can tune in onto the sound or the frequency of what each organ and tissue emanates, or the sound or the echo, then that would let you know what the vibrational frequency is of the emotion that you are trying to release. And of course, it's variant on the heaviness or the lightness of the emotion. The other thing that I've been noticing over the last probably, I want to say between 6 to 18 months or so, is the opening of the root chakra, but also moving into the 10th chakra, which is 3 about 3 feet beneath the feet and is within the earth. It's also known as the Earth Star Chakra, and helps to align in the diamond consciousness so that you have your inverted pyramid above, your pyramid facing upwards, and then you have the inverted pyramid going into the earth. And as you release those emotional wounds out of the 1st and the 10th chakra, I've been noticing that it has been some of the most darkest and some of the most, you can even say, evilest emotions or frequencies that exist, and some of the greatest pain that has been suppressed for eons on the planet, also within the consciousness of humanity, and of course in the separate aspects with what we feel either as men or as women, not mattering, of course, that if you are born, and I'll just use a woman as an example because I'm a woman, that we also have the male and the female sides, but also that it helps you to embrace the divine sacred union. So the way it all connects in is so intricate and so fine, but, takes a while to expose all the different layers as you work through healing each individual emotion. And the beauty of it is you always go through, you know how they say we always have like roller coaster rides where we go up or we go down with the way our lives unfold, or you have a really amazing, exciting event that comes up, and then you kind of go into sort of like a quiet zone where not much is happening. So it can't always be party, party, party. So as you evolve and transform yourself, your energy shifts, and when you're on a high, you can heal a lot of emotions. But when you go into that space where you need to be still, where you need to rewire, rebalance, reconnect, revitalize, your body means that you just go back into the basics, and you go back into the part of you where you just redefine your boundaries and you work on your priorities and anchoring yourself so that you can just, whatever the emotion is, without having attachment or looking into the relevance of the drama of what brought it up high or why, just the actual emotion of it, not only are you healing it for yourself, but you heal it for your family, for your environment, it can be for your city, your planet, and as your soul elevates and grows, and you start to anchor in your planetary body, your cosmic consciousness, your universal consciousness, and your solar consciousness, and I do apologize, I said them completely out of order, it also brings with it the different layers of the chakras. So as you anchor your planetary body, you're not just healing yourself, you're helping to heal the collective of the planet. So it becomes relevant to all of us as this is a journey towards wholeness and divine sacred union and reclaiming the God, the goddess essence, and the path of Yeshua and Magdalene, and reclaiming that and bringing that back for the new earth. And as we elevate and as we heal and as we grow, what really blew my mind with the Akashic Records also was how conspiracy theories and some of these government agendas and shadow governments and military and this bankers drama that's been going on, how that also is so deeply embedded in the consciousness, but also within the Akashic Records as well. And the reveal of how that's been coming out, which has been very consistent in the last, I would say since about June of this year, it's been incredible how that agenda itself has also been showing itself so that it could be revealed and that we can heal it. And for those that can heal it and can consciously work with that without letting it emotionally make them lose it, or just be able to hold the space and understand that it is just a program, and yet it is still a God program to help with the enlightenment of the planet and with the souls and all the conscious evolution, it makes a huge shift. So it's a very complex, like we said, very intricate, kind of mind-blowing, mind-altering, opening, life-altering change.
Well, and that really makes a lot of sense to me, this deeper releasing that's happening, because there are so many people that don't understand why they're in a certain emotional space. It's like, well, nothing bad happened, but I just feel like I have all of this heaviness or whatever they're feeling and experiencing. But it seems like in this generation, in this age, we're not allowing the programming to keep us in our box. It's like we're finally taking the blinders off and going, well, wait, there might be a bigger reality. I mean, if you think, 200 years ago or 300 years ago or 1,000 years ago, people were held in place and in fear by superstition or rules and regulations by the state or the church, where now, people question authority. And I think it's giving them the opportunity to finally let go of all of that programming that has been forced on us for generations, thousands of years.
Yeah, it's truly incredible. And what really is, I think, one of the most mind-blowing aspects of it is to find out that it is still a God program. So meaning that...
So what do you mean by a God program?
That as dark as it is still an aspect of God, but it is the most separated, absolute separated aspect of God. And it's to see how far it can reach out, how dark can it go, how evil can it get, so that when at the right time, and this is where we are now, when it's time for all mysteries to be revealed and for the energy to completely shift, for it to completely reignite itself and to shift it all back and heal all that emotion, transmute all of that negative energy back to unconditional love and pure positive energy, which ignites the language of light and which is also the language of the universes. It's just mind-blowing, and it alters everything. And it helps you also to release all the emotions that are embedded in fear, anger, and rage, because of course they all have a different consistency with the frequency. It's still anger, but it is still an aspect of fear, but it feels different than malice would or fury. So it's a very deep aspect of discernment, but being also to be able to be so still that you don't react, that you allow for the entire show, because that's what it is, right, to reveal itself.
Well, but you know, and I'm sure there are a number of people that know, but I'm just going to make the statement in case there are other people that don't know. We have to understand the depths of fear. We have to understand uncontrollable anger, or the intensity of anger, the intensity of these negative emotions, so that we can make the choice that we don't want to go there anymore.
Absolutely. I totally understand where you're coming from. But it's up to the person, the individual, or as when we're in our physical bodies, to, like you said, see how far it can go, but not actually have the experience of it, but not act on it. It's a big difference.
But they might act on it, and it might be a transformative experience for them.
Right, exactly.
How our game plays out, who knows,
Yeah, really.
That's totally individual.
You're like, really? Are you not done yet? You got to be joking. Yeah, I've been doing this for years. And I always joke about how I say I've been doing this for 6,000 years, because that's what it feels like. But in this life, it's been about 25 years that I've been doing it for. And, I've had some experiences that are so utterly mind-blowing that I just can't believe that anything could come and top it. And not that I'm looking for it to be topped, but then something happens that just basically the carpet is pulled out from under me, and I'm just like, wow. You feel like Keanu Reeves when he goes, whoa. So there's always something. There's always something to learn. There's always something to embrace. And there's always adventure. Because I love doing this, and it doesn't scare me. And the beauty of it is that because of it, you become a way shower. You're able to help others. You're able to access. You're able to understand the frequency instantly, and you know how to help people with it. So it's a really incredible path and a really amazing journey to be on.
So one of the things that I believe, and I'd like to hear your opinion, is that there are so many people that are being affected by the energy that's around them. We hear about unemployment or, housing prices or Obamacare. And, I just feel like there's kind of this level of negativity, level of fear, level of uncertainty that the planet is kind of vibrating in. But it's because, there might be a group of people that are in that space, but it's radiating out, affecting other people. Now they're radiating in that space. And it just is becoming this big thing, even though for an individual, it might not be their truth. I mean, how much are you running across that?
Not much, because in my reality, I know about it, I understand it, but I haven't exactly been running into it because I don't seem to attract it. I know that sounds different, but it's on just a completely different level. I also live in another country as well, too, so it's a little different for us. I'm in Canada, and we hear what's going on in the U.S., of course, but what is interesting is that a lot of the stuff that's being fed in fear is just basically from the Illuminati media corporations that are trying to keep people in fear. And what is so amazing is, as I travel so much, and everywhere that I go, I don't see that. I actually see hope. I see faith. I see more people evolved and more spiritually aware than ever before. And I couldn't stand Facebook up until just recently. And it blew my mind to see how many people on the planet are doing what they can do to help, even with what we're seeing with the whole Fukushima drama going on, how people are doing everything they can in their power to help with shifting it in whatever consciousness level that they can, whether it's through spiritual means or through however physical aspects that they can do to help. It's really amazing. And just because we have those few, news reports or those few headlines or whatever, it's not what's happening. There's such a revolution going on, and I think Russell Brand said it perfectly when he was on, I remember it was one of the BBC interviews he did just a few weeks ago, where he was talking about how there is such an underbelly of people that get it. They know what's going on. They understand it, and they really, truly are trying to help within whatever communities they're in or families, how they're able to express or explain the emotions. And now social media is just so powerful, such an incredible tool to also bring forth or counteract these emotions, that it's really changing. And this whole global drama of who's in power is really shifting. We are living in such amazing times right now where we are going to see this all fall and completely change. How it's going to happen, I still don't know. But it's not going to be the way that they're thinking it's going to be, or the way that the world elite is trying to make it happen. So however they have their deadlines or whatever agendas that they're working on, it's only a few. It's only a few people doing it. So,
but they're at least in the United States, and I really like your input talking from a different country, because that's something that is really hard here to understand. Is it a U.S. thing, and is it a U.S. media, or is it a thing that's going on around the world that everybody's being impacted by it? So I really appreciate getting a different perspective, from your neck of the woods than here. But Charlotte, we had a question in the chat room. It's a little off topic, but it kind of fits in with what we're talking about. And it's from American Road Warrior. And it says, can you recommend a particular story with witness corroboration of experiences with Pleiadians for someone who doubts their existence?
So you basically want to know like a story of how it happened?
Yeah, with witnesses or some kind of corroboration.
Well, I don't know. Are you looking for an email address?
I don't know.
Well, basically,
here's a picture of us hanging out at IHOP.
Yeah, we just have, let's have some coffee at Starbucks. And well, the Pleiadians is so amazing because they are fifth-dimensional beings of light. And usually when they're around, I always see blue, really incredibly sparkly blue flashes. But their outlines are so amazing. And what is so incredible about the star councils of light is that they know it is an enormous waste of energy to try to physically show themselves to people who are needing to have that proof and that validation that they exist. And because the truth is, it comes across in feeling. And if you're asking me a question like that, then that tells me that this person clearly is still on that space where they're working through expanding and opening up their hearts. And even with a name like Road Warrior, that's very interesting to me, because that feels to me like that's on the third chakra level, who is still trying to work through their own emotional wounds related to power struggles, or, even embracing their full power and stepping into their full power and surrendering to the divine and allowing the energies to flow or to come through them. And this sounds to me somebody who is just isn't exactly ready and is basically like, you need to prove to me. Well, you know what? I don't need to prove anything. I know it exists, and I know that it is, and that's it. There's really nothing else I can say. But there's many different things that I can suggest for you to meet the Pleiadians, for you to have your own experience, because that's what matters. It's not my experience or Rita's experience or Joe on the street's experience. It's your own personal experience that is more valuable than anything, because that's what you need to help you or to evolve or to heal or to move to your next level of your conscious growth and your evolution and towards your wholeness. But one thing I would love to suggest to Road Warrior is to there's a phenomenal book. It's called The Pleiadian Workbook by Amora Kuan Yin. And it is actually the ancient Egyptian mystery school curriculum. And if you pick this book up and you go through the exercises of it, it shows you how to contact the Pleiadians and how to work towards building your body of light so that you can be at the frequency where you can see them. Because it's not about them showing themselves to you. It's about you preparing yourself to meet them. And when you're ready, they show up. They're usually here about 100 years before every planet evolves or ascends or shifts. So they've been here for a couple decades now, where they've been watching over the planet and seeing, what have people learned, what have they evolved, how's the soul conscious evolution of the planet, the collective conscious and everything. They have many different intricate, different things that they work through, and there's many channels across the planet that all also work with the Pleiadians. So I invite you to even just Google it, or even look up, there's an Rita Melchizedek in South Africa who does many incredible channelings and work also too with the Pleiadians. So there's many people on the planet that can help you. So that really is the most I can give you. My own experiences, we could be here forever. So I hope that helps.
All right, but let me ask a more specific question. So when you're interacting with them, you don't have like a little UFO come park in your driveway and you're not talking to somebody. It is information that you're
But
going
I've had that happen.
Well, you'll have to tell that story, but I'll just continue with what I was going to say, and then you can tell that story because that sounds pretty interesting. But we're talking about beings that are interdimensional or living in realms that are beyond our ability to see.
Right.
And so, and that's where that communication is coming in, is more on intuitive levels and versus, you're sitting at the kitchen. Well, you might sit at the kitchen table and have a cup of coffee, but it's not like in the
for me, I'm aligned with them all day, every day, because I live my life like this. So for me, it's no big deal just to be in conversation all the time. So it's and even when I'm reading or if I'm speaking at an event or something, I always ask for their guidance or for their help before I go on stage and I speak. And it's always amazing, the information that comes through. But they are always there to help, and they're incredible beings because they really help with your heart. They help you to open up your heart and activate it so it can help you also, too, to become a Christed being, which is an open heart. It's not about Christ coming back to save the planet. It's about us all becoming Christed. So that's part of their job in evolution. And then they kind of prepare you so that you can go on to meet with the Syrians, who then take you further through with helping you to align with your higher self and reconfiguring the sacred geometry of each individual organ and tissue of your body, and helping you to elevate and expand and fill yourself up more with light, because light quota is extremely important. So they all have the dimensions that they also oversee. So the Pleiadians look over the 5th dimension, and the Sirians look over the 6th. And I believe the Andromedans work with the 7th. And the 8th isn't coming to me right now, but I know Orion is for the 9th. So it's really amazing, and you can't jump all over the place. You know, oh yeah, I'm going to hang out in the 9th dimension today, and I'll be over in the 4th tomorrow. And it doesn't work like that, because it's about how you build and align yourself. And also, too, how you embrace whatever experiences of fear that you may be going through, because, of course, if you're in fear, you're not going to see them. So they'll be there, but you won't see them. And they'll do what they can to help, but will you take the help? Will you allow yourself to receive the help? So I'm sorry to give you such a multidimensional answer, but, and also, too, are you multidimensional or are you transdimensional? Are you single-dimensional? So there's
I don't
many
know. What's the difference?
You know, that is an amazing question, because a multidimensional is when you've aligned with all of your 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th dimensions. But the transdimensional is when you've aligned all your multidimensional aspects, but also your above, so below, part of the hermetic principles, in front, behind, side, everything. So it's like a complete sphere that's around you, and it means that you have become one with wholeness and one with all that is. So then that's a whole other ballgame.
Anyway, so you're talking about the Pleiadians, and then you kind of went into the Sirians, and so I'm going to kind of ask kind of a hodgepodge question here. But how do you know that you're communicating with or working with the Pleiadians versus the Sirians? Okay, so that's kind of part one, but I'm going to add a little piece to it. And
Sure.
Could it be that many people, well, no, it'll make sense when I say it all.
Okay.
Could it be that many people think that they're working with their guides or they're working with their angels, but they're actually working with one of these groups instead? And
Absolutely.
just kind of call them my angels?
Absolutely, because that's how it happened to me. And I want to say with your first question, it's just a one-worded thing, which is frequency. And I remember the first time I met the Pleiadians, I thought for sure they were angels. And that's when I realized that they had these really beautiful blue capes on. And I was out in the woods. Usually that's where you meet them for the first time. And I was out in the woods, and it's not about what you see. It's about what you feel. And for anybody that is working on this level, they really understand and realize now that what you see is nothing more than illusion, maya, glamour, all attached. It's what you feel is what is the most important aspect. And what I felt was an incredible, overwhelming essence of love and absolute safety. And when they showed themselves to me, I saw them running through the forest wearing these beautiful, iridescent, long blue capes. But I didn't see their faces. I just saw the capes. And when they came towards me, there was a group of them. They stood up in front of me about maybe 15 feet or so, and when I saw them, they were just absolutely radiant. And the feeling, the energy was I can't describe how beautiful it was, just to say that it was beautiful, the way of beauty. So I didn't even know who they were then. And it took me a few weeks to be even able to say the word Pleiadian, because I'd never even heard it before. Now, this is going back years, but it was a really incredible experience, one I'll never forget. And so from there, they told me that they had been working with me since I was a child, and that they had always been there, and there was always energy protection. And for many years, I didn't want to see. And I blocked my ability to see because I was so scared. I was seeing car accidents and murders and people having heart attacks, and I didn't want to see that. So it was me overcoming and embracing my fear to allow them to show themselves to me. So in other words, I was ready. And that's what I wish to convey to everybody who's listening to this and wants to meet the Pleiadians. They will show up when you're ready. So please don't frustrate yourself and make yourself get all worked up. When the time is, it'll happen. And it's always an incredible, memorable, beautiful experience. And then since then, they've been teaching me how to do different types of healings and to chambers of light and all kinds of incredible DNA transformational, igniting souls and everything. So it's been an incredible experience. And then when I was ready and they had taught me enough, then they sent me to the Syrians. And then that's when I started in with the whole sacred geometry, Merkaba, alignment, sacred divine union. And so it's been a really incredible ride.
Sounds like it. Okay, so tell me about the driveway thing.
Oh, yeah, that's happened a few times. But sometimes what happens is it's not how everybody thinks. And the ships all look different. And, of course, we all have them, too, as that is what our Merkaba is. And I remember the first time I realized that when they came in, what I had seen or experienced was that I'd seen a ship that looked like a ship, but then when they had landed, it turned into a person. And that's when I realized it was the Merkaba field. So it was like on command or thought that it propelled itself and was able to go. And they showed me how to bilocate and soul travel. So I've been doing that for about 3 or 4 years now. And that's been a really incredible experience as well, where I've started doing what we call interdimensional passport trips. And on New Year's Eve, we always have an event where we do a meditation where we soul travel or bilocate to the Sphinx. And, of course, the Sphinx is what holds the divine blueprint for all of humanity, not just in this life, but all of our lives. And we bilocate there, and some of the experiences of the people that have joined me on these have been amazing. And then when I travel the globe to different sacred sites, what I do is a holographic journey. So for people who can't come on the trip, and they're always saying how they want to fit in my suitcase, they come with me, but what we do is they travel holographically. So when I go to one of these sacred sites, like in Egypt or Sedona or Hawaii, then I'll open up a vortex of light, and then we'll either put their pictures in or holographically visualize the individual that has, wanted to accompany us on this journey, and then send the healing back to them, or whatever the energy or the frequency or the activation of the sacred site is. And the stories have been just absolutely incredible.
Cool. So you don't even have to go on the trip, but you can still benefit with the healing.
And that is actually our birthright, because we should be allowed to go on and off planet. It's kind of like Star Trek. And that's which is really cool, too, because then you start thinking about, oh, my gosh, I can't believe the name totally escapes me. Because I always think of them as Star Trek, the guys in the ships that are around the planet right now. And they're like, it'll come to me. But they're always here. They're protecting us and making sure that nothing happens. And they go to different parts of the universe and galaxy as well, too, to make sure that things stay, in alignment, or we don't destroy ourselves. It'll come to me.
But why would they be so concerned with us, this puny little planet in this small solar system?
Because this puny little planet is the key to the ascension of the galaxy and the solar ring. The whole solar ring has shifted. Now, they call, like our solar system, they call our solar ring. The Pleiadians taught me that. And what they do is the entire solar ring the last time had ascended to the 4th dimension, but the Earth stayed in the 3rd, and that's why they call it the Earth School. So whoever comes to the Earth School and reincarnates in a physical body has no recollection of their soul, or that they're eternal, or that they have or come from pure positive energy. So we come here to learn to expand our frequency, and they align it with harmonics, with music, and this is where the music of the spheres comes through. Because what happens is, as you learn and embrace a deeper emotion or heal another emotional wound, you get another harmonic in your octave of frequency, if you will call it. So the beauty of it is, not all souls remember, but some souls come back more consciously aware than others. So this is when you would say intuitive, or this person exhibits more of psychic ability or whatever. The key is to reclaim all of your abilities, which is claircognizance, which I like to call clairvoyance sometimes, because you don't know how you just know, but you can't explain that you know. And clairsentience, clairvoyance, clairaudience. There's a few. There's 3, 4, or 5 of them. And we all have them. Every single person on the planet has it. It's just at different levels. And as you embrace them and they all become equal and aligned, you embrace full sensory perception. And that's when you are able to see again. And that's when you reclaim your gifts as an ascended master, because we are all ascended masters, but we need to remember that. So that is kind of like the cosmic joke. We come here trying to think that, we need to become, ascended masters or to become God, not realizing that we already are. So one of my favorite stories, the Holy Grail. Everyone used to think it was a cup in a cave in the Middle East somewhere, and it turns out to be within you, which is, I think, one of the most amazing stories of all time. So, but it's incredible how it all intricately aligns. So as we heal and as we grow, not only are we ascending, but so is the planet. And this time the planet has been shifting from the third dimension to the fifth, as the solar ring is ascending from the fourth also to the fifth. So that's why it's so important. And the earth is also elevating itself, reclaiming and us being able to bring back heaven on earth, which isn't us traveling upwards to heaven, but bringing heaven here. As we are all temples, our bodies are the temples, and we anchor the energies through our bodies and bring it into and anchor it into the center of the earth. And this is what the world elite and the agendas of the Illuminati, or whatever you call them, who knows, and or whatever words they hide behind, or banks or corporations, they don't want you to know this. They want you to stay in that state of fear. It's kind of like I have this theory about the swastika symbol, and that the Nazis had, because the symbol, of course, we all know, was ripped off from one of the Hindu symbols. And when you look at it, because it's in that red, sort of like a container in a circle, that is the sign for the root chakra, because the root chakra is a square. And because it's reversed backwards, swastika means that it keeps you only in your root chakra area, whereas, of course, you're always in a state of fear or survival mode, or, worrying about poverty consciousness, money, or starvation. So you never really elevate to a new level. It kind of keeps you sort of in a robotic state, or always in survival mode, so you're never able to elevate. And by shifting that, even us understanding and embracing and healing that part of, human consciousness in our history, we're releasing so much pain from the earth. And even by shifting it back to the symbol of the anakarina, which is what it was before it was altered, that is the symbol that connects us and is known throughout all the Hindu worlds. And you can even see it when you go into the Hindu temples. You see that symbol over the heart of the statues that they have of Buddha or whatever in the temples. And you'll probably see this in Angkor Wat as well, too, which also holds the diamond consciousness, that it connects you to your higher self. And your anakarina is like a tube of light that connects you straight to God, so that you bring in your God consciousness and remember that you are God. You are co-creating always. So it's a really incredible, vast agenda, if you want to put it, because they know what's going on. They get it. They know. They get the information, and they say that we get it 30 years after the elite gets it. So it's about being able to heal it, embrace it, and return it back to its original state and elevate it.
Well, I mean, there are people that say that, groups like the Illuminati or, like Hitler was really interested in esoteric wisdom, esoteric tradition, and they worship Satan and whatever. But there is this,
they said Hitler had a crystal skull, too.
But there's this kind of implication that they are using intuitive techniques, ritual, intention to get what they want, but they're doing it to create it for a negative purpose and not a positive purpose.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting, too, what they use to ignite it, which is blood. The death of the soldiers, the blood of the soldiers that runs. They use that as a ritual to embed it within the earth, that grief, that anger, that sort of like ignition to keep their agenda going. So it's quite a puppet act.
So, you mentioned that there is all this positive energy. Once we leave the earth, leave the third dimensional realm, there's all of this positive energy. why do we experience so much negativity here, or the possibility? I mean, there's the educational part. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But is there not that negative energy out in the
well, you're going to love the
outside
answer
of
to
the
this.
universe?
We volunteered to be here. And some
Yeah,
people
I always
volunteered.
wonder why. I sit there and go, what were you thinking? Rita, what the heck were you thinking?
Well, Rita, on your cosmic resume, for you to be on Earth at this time, you're getting major karma points.
Well, I just sit there and go, wait, let me look for that hole in my head, because I just sometimes just don't get it.
And that's so understandable, because we've all been through that. I myself have been through that. I mean, why am I here? What is this for? Why am I experiencing this? And I'm sure every single person listening to this right now has also experienced that. But you have to remember that you asked to be here, and there are so many souls that are wishing they could be here but couldn't get a body to be here to experience this ascension, that it is a true honor to be here to experience. It's almost like we have full front row seats for this whole action. So instead of being afraid of it, we need to embrace it. And yes, take a step into the unknown, not try to control the outcome because of the fear of what if it ain't going to happen. That's what humanity is working through releasing at this time. So it's a very deep thing. I remember the first time I took a class on igniting or activating my Merkaba, and I got this vision of being a man, and I was in Atlantis, and I just saw that I was quite the jerk in that past life, and I had completely abused my power in that life, and all I saw was the impression I got was that was the last time in my evolution of being on this planet, reincarnation. And for those of you who don't believe in it, well, you know what? I've seen too much evidence that it exists, so I'm just going to go with it. And what I got was that in that lifetime, that was the very last time that my Merkaba was actually active. And I had abused my power so much that I had blown myself up in it. And what was incredible was that I was so afraid to embrace my power as I was igniting my Merkaba. This was 13,000 years later is what I was told, that I was doing this. And I was so afraid I went into the woods and I called on Archangel Melchizedek. He's known as the Lord of Light, or Lord Melchizedek, who oversees also the Order of Melchizedek. And I asked for his presence to come. And I was asking for his forgiveness to say, if I was such a jerk in this past life, I almost swore there, and I remembered around wine, and if I had been such a jerk to abuse my power, how could I even trust myself to be able to do it in this life, and just out of fear, not do it, or sabotage myself or sabotage my power because of the fear that I might even abuse my power. And he said to me, he turned actually, and he showed me a symbol that I had never seen before, which turned out to be the full eye of Ra. And as far as my studies had gone at that time, I only knew that there was a left eye and a right eye of Ra. So I had no idea what a full eye of Ra meant. And it was like a holographic impression, and he placed it onto my third eye, and it infused and blended with my pituitary and my pineal gland. And I felt a spark of light shoot out and give me this whole, almost like an arc. It was like brain illumination, which of course at that time I couldn't explain. But now, he then said to me, by giving me that symbol, he said, but what you need to know is that you volunteered to come here. You volunteered to go on the dark side and to have that experience so that at this time you could completely transmute the energy. My jaw dropped because that was the most unbelievable and most unexpected answer I could have possibly expected to hear. It was so utterly mind-blowing to me. And it was such a lesson to go through and recognize that it wasn't his forgiveness I needed to ask for, it was my own. And it changed my life. And because of that, and because I stepped into it and I faced that fear, my whole life transformed. And what I saw, too, was because I was no longer afraid to embrace my power, things shifted. And I started to take more and more ownership and responsibility for the wounds that I was seeing, not only in myself and in my clients, but also in my city and my community, around the world and around the globe. Because that's what happens as you evolve and as you grow. And it was a really incredible time of my life. So it's always like as if we're going through preparation. They call it, like they said, the Earth School. So we're always learning. I am the eternal student. So.
Well, and I feel, honored or blessed, personally, that in this lifetime, I have always worked on myself, have always, in the back of my mind, felt like I really needed to make things right, become whole, work through energies. It's like if there's something that scares me, where's the first place I go? The place that scares me the most.
Yeah.
To just move through the energy. It's like it shouldn't be there, so let's just get rid of it. I mean, that's kind of my philosophy toward life. And I just find it interesting that there are so many people that just live life on autopilot. And they get up and they go to work and they, walk the dog and they put the TV on or play games and aren't even aware of anything outside of, what they're told to do.
They don't see the Milky Way and the vastness of what's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
I totally understand what you mean. And it's amazing, too, because, and as you know, too, as you being a medical intuitive, I also have X-ray vision, so I can see through the body. And I can see what organ right down to the vertebrae is off alignment. And the beauty of it is you reclaim your radiant health. You become more luminescent. Your energy becomes just like this vast source because you open up and you're a container and you allow the energy and the flow to come completely through you. So you actually feel like you're having an orgasm all day long because that's what it's supposed to feel like when you're in the flow. Not like, oh man, this sucks. It's not supposed to suck. And I know that could be taken in many different ways.
I was just thinking, it was like, I don't know that I want to touch
crowd.
that one. I don't know that I want to touch that one.
Yeah, well, no, let's touch it because it needs to be touched because that is something else.
Oh, go ahead. We got, just to let you know, we got 4 minutes before we need to take a commercial break.
Okay.
So
well, maybe we should go on to something else. Well, one of the emotions I'm working through right now is something that I saw yesterday that shocked me. And it was that there is a rape festival going on in India. It absolutely blew my mind. I had no idea that this even existed. And I thought, wow, that's definitely some emotion that we have got to clear because the repression and the pain and the grief that has been there, and I don't even know how to say it because I'm using absolute discernment when I say this. I'm not in any judgment whatsoever. But how that's done and to have that kind of, I don't know if it's a thought process, that the word that you call it, or you're brought up with this kind of thought that you think this is right, is incredible to me. And it just shows you how deep the pain is that the earth is carrying at this time and its people to help to heal it, and how important it is for all of us to do what we can from whatever point of view. And this is where I love Ho'oponopono so much. And for those
wait a minute, because the chat room keeps going, rape festival? Festival? So let me ask you this question. I mean, wouldn't it be all willing participants in this festival?
No, it isn't.
They just say, hey, let's just go out and rape people and find people to rape?
It just blew my mind. And it was... I'm sure people are Googling it now like crazy, but, they should, because it needs to be brought into awareness. This is something that we have got to help heal because God only knows how much pain has been suppressed and held and how many centuries this has been going on for, and that they think that this is right. And I think what I read was that the males go out and rape as many women as they possibly can, and they start young, like 12, 13 years old boys out raping everybody, and they see how many women they can rape, and they claim themselves as whatever, and they say that they're, I think it read that they were beating the devils or the evil out of the women. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So,
well, but they have that arranged marriage there, and I mean, no offense if you come from the Indian culture. This really isn't meant as a judgment thing, but they don't know how to date. And they don't know how to interact with people of the opposite sex. And it just is a very interesting energy to work with someone that comes from that culture. And let's say they had an arranged marriage, that marriage failed, and now they're single, and they are so clueless
Yeah, and that's not one of those things where you can go out and buy that book, Dating for Dummies. Doesn't work.
I mean, they have like no second chakra at all.
No.
So. No,
it's a very interesting thing, and I think it was an American that was over there, an American journalist that was there for some kind of a event. And when he had landed, he had found out that this was going on, and he just was mortified and called his company and said, just get me out of here, because what are you doing sending me to this? And, of course, they weren't even aware of it. So, but again, in a way, I'm glad it happened, because now we're bringing awareness to it, and, the more we know about it, the more we can heal it, the more we can embrace it and change it and help to shift and I'm not saying this from a righteous place
but we
at
need
all.
Charlotte.
Yeah.
Charlotte, it's the Pleiadians calling you, but we need to go to break. Or would it be the Andromedans? I don't know. It's somebody calling you to let you know.
No, it's actually Rita.
we need to go to break. Okay, so I'm Dr. Rita Louise. We're here talking to Charlotte Szivak. Her webpage is Charlotte Szivak, and I'm going to spell that SZIVAK.com, and we'll be back with Charlotte after these words from our sponsors.
Just Energy Radio with your host, Dr. Rita Louise, will return right after these messages.
You're listening to IRN, the Inception Radio Network, Chicago, Illinois.
You didn't forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again.
Are you sensitive to energy? Want to explore the world beyond the five senses? Looking for a new career as an alternative healthcare practitioner? Then the Institute of Applied Energetics, Medical Intuition, and Energy Medicine training programs may be right for you. Our comprehensive curriculum provides students with a deep understanding of how to detect, evaluate, and transform the subtle body, as well as techniques for correcting energetic imbalances that may underscore a person's ability to experience radiant health. So if you are sensitive to energy, contact the Institute of Applied Energetics right away. Be a catalyst for changing the way healthcare is done around the world. Visit www.appliedenergeticsinstitute.com and start your new career today.
Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty landline or cell phone and dial or call and listen lines at 832-280-0830 or 786-837-2262 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, those numbers are 832-280-0830 or 786-837-2262. For the Inception Radio Network, I'm MJ.
Who were the gods of antiquity? They've been described as the forces of nature, levels of consciousness, and aspects of our psyche. Stories that depict their incredible weapons, their flying machines, and their amazing adventures are characterized as being the product of our ancestors' fanciful imaginations. But what if the tales of the gods are true? Did the writers, chroniclers, and scribes of our distant past actually document a realistic view of our origin? My latest book, Man-Made, The Chronicles of Our Extraterrestrial Gods, looks at our most ancient legends. Learn of the torrid romances, elaborate plots, violent scandals, and conspiracies that played out in antiquity. Find out the role the gods played in the life and culture we have today. If you want to find out the truth of who we are and where we come from, order your copy of Man-Made today. For more information, go to www.manmadethechronicles.com. That's www.manmadethechronicles.com.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. Would you like your favorite show to be played live on air? Well, now the choice is in your hands with IRN's Live Request Portal, an easy way to request your favorite show with a simple click. IRN's Live Request Portal now gives you exclusive access to all the shows. How easy is it? Simply type a show name or a guest name, click requests, and even write a dedication message. That's it. Try it now. Simply visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com, click on the Live Request tab under the show menu. Playing your favorite show is just a mouse click away.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Move past the crossroads in your life and discover alternative solutions to your deepest concerns at soulhealer.com. So whether it's a physical problem, an emotional issue, a question about work, or troubles in your relationships, naturopath and medical intuitive Dr. Rita Louise can help you. Bring peace, harmony, and health back into your life. Schedule a session today. Visit soulhealer.com right away and live the life you've been dreaming of.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free.
And now back to Just Energy Radio with Dr. Rita Louise.
Hello and welcome back to Just Energy Radio. We're here talking to Charlotte Szivak about stuff. But don't forget, Just Energy Radio is brought to you by soulhealer.com and the Institute of Applied Energetics. That's www.appliedenergeticsinstitute.com. Please do go by the ancientmysteriesinterntional.com website, ancientmysteriesinternational.com, and check out the trip to Angkor Wat, March 22nd to 30th, with myself, Stephen Knapp, Sash and Janet Lesson. That's March 22nd through 30th. ancientmysteriesinternational.com. So Charlotte, I'm going to we kind of went around the universe and beyond. And so I'm going to kind of bring it back here, but go into a little bit of a different topic. So we were talking about Akashic Records, and I don't know, I have this whole giant list of questions, but now I'm totally bored with them. So I'm going to just move on to something different, and move on and talk about relationships, because that's one of your other big topics. And where I wanted to talk was, one of your topics is talking about divine union. Now, I know everyone that's listening has heard about soulmates and soulmate relationships, but what is a soulmate relationship versus what would be considered a divine union?
Well, that's a great question. Oh gosh, you're gonna have to shoot me down after these, because we'll be just going on. That is a really great question, because everybody is, pretty much would love to be in love, or is in love, or is looking actively for love, or is fighting love because of the walls that they've built around themselves and not allowing themselves to receive love, or is in a space where they're trying to learn how to love themselves so they can let love in, or are hiding from love because they don't feel worthy, good enough to be loved. This is such an amazing topic because, and again, it still connects in through the Akashic Records, because we meet people throughout our lifetimes, and, you can meet someone on the street, hey, Bob, what's up, what's going on, DJ, whatever, right? But that doesn't really affect you in a way that a love relationship would. And that's why we have them, and there's many variations of being in relationships where you have your soulmate relationships or your twin flame relationships. Now, there is one that also goes above and beyond that as well, too, but the name escapes me at this point. So, but what we need to do is go back and look at what soulmate relationships actually stand for, because our heart center has 43 different chambers within the heart, and all representing emotional wounds and aspects and lessons that we need to learn and embrace. And this is, if anyone's interested, looking through the Egyptian alchemy of the goddess Mat. I may have said her name wrong, and I apologize. Ma'at. And she governs over the heart area as well, too. And when we meet someone that we fall in love with, they are actually a reflection of us. And they represent the wounds that you're either looking to heal or embrace, or what you're looking to experience. And this is where the Akashic Records comes through, because it's like you hold a contract with a soul to have this experience or this love relationship experience so that you can ignite your soul, you can ignite divine creation, or you can ignite divine sacred union. Now, divine sacred union is kind of like what we're going through in the world right now, too, in the part of healing also, and here we go again, healing the sexual wounds of the planet as well, too, and all the sexual, emotional connections that we have that are also locked within the consciousness of humanity. So this goes back to the Holy Grail, the Sword of Truth, and to Yeshua, who we all know was Jesus, and Mary Magdalene, and Isis, and the high priestesses of Egypt and Avalon and Lemuria and Mu, where they used to experience, where they would have divine sacred union, where they would also have sacred sex as well, or sexual alchemy. And it all tied in, because when you have sex and it's with your soulmate or somebody that you love with, what happens is your body, as we know, it is a temple, opens up a specific light vibration that flows through you. And if you get pregnant and or a couple gets pregnant, if you're with somebody that you truly love and you open up into this container of light, you attract a higher soul or a higher evolved soul to come through and be the child. But of course, if you're having, a one-night stands or like this lovely festival we were just discussing, and I'm being very sarcastic when I say that, or whatever that word is, you're not attracting such a high soul. You're attracting a soul that would be in the lowest vibrational form, or what they called in Avalon a once born, which meant that you only dealt with food, drink, water, and sex, the basic necessities of life. And what's amazing about it is that this is what has been diminished over the thousands of years that we've been on the planet, is that sex is sacred, and that it was used to build the body of light and to awaken brain illumination and the mind of God. And it has been so demoralized and put into the most separated aspect of lust and pornography, where you're not feeling that vibration of love. So when you attract a soulmate into your life, it is helping you to also heal and embrace the emotional wounds that haven't been expressed, that haven't been healed, that need to be brought forward. And that's why, when you say that it can be a very fine line between anger and love, because it brings up your stuff and you got to deal with it. And since all relationships are about reflection, and that can be a very huge pill to swallow for many people who are listening to this, it means that you attract exactly what you are. So if you don't love yourself and you don't treat yourself well and you abuse yourself, then chances are that's what you're going to attract. Because somebody who would truly love you, you'd be out of total vibrational alignment. So you wouldn't attract them into your life at all. You may just pass them like you're walking past them in a hallway and move on. But with soulmates, it's a deeper aspect or lesson, which is basically helping you to learn love, the lessons of love, the lessons of the heart. And I know to some people that may sound hokey because it's like, oh yeah, it's not all puppy dogs and roses and all this. It isn't. Love is one of the most powerful and is the most powerful energy, not only on our planet, but across the entire universe. It's what fuels the universe. It's what fuels our consciousness. It's what opens up your heart and gives you total, complete protection, but also helps you to commune with nature, with the animals, with other beings, like that gentleman earlier who had asked about the Pleiadians, helps you to open up to other dimensions of communication. And it, again, can be such a vast experience where you have a certain contract with, a certain number of people, as we have many soulmates, but you only have one twin flame, which is your absolute other half. They say that at the beginning of time, or in this creation, the twin flames were together, and then they were severed apart to go in their different directions to learn their soul's lessons. And at the end of times, or the Omega, which doesn't mean the world's ending, but a way is ending and a new way of state or being is evolving, that they would come back together again, and they would reunite and heal, and here we go back with divine sacred union. Now, as you elevate as a soul, you're male, female, as you embrace more and more of your emotions, and we all know, well, not all of us, but there's only two real emotions, love and fear. But fear breaks into thousands of different emotional wound resonances. And this is where we can get into alchemy, embracing the shadow, the ego, the pain body. We all hold pain in our hearts, in our bodies, in our souls. We've all felt that aspect of rejection or abandonment or being dropped or rejected. We've all felt that. We've all had that experience at one point or other in our lifetimes. But it's how you deal with it, or how you've embraced it, or how you've, or just swallowed it and not dealt with it, that is what really counts. So each person that you meet, that you have a romantic liaison with, a relationship with, is actually helping you to open your heart and help you to heal, so that you can come into your greatest, your highest, most beneficial potential. So there is no loss. You actually never lose. And even when a relationship is over, I think of Osho when I think of this. He has this one card which is called friendliness. And it means that you understand that you are with people, for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And you embrace them for as long as you're together. You learn as much as you can. But then when it's time to go, you move on, because you've healed each other. You've done what you could. You've helped each other grow as people. And you move on to your next lessons. Of course, not everybody understands that. And what's interesting with soulmates is some soulmates do get married, but the planet Earth is the only planet that people actually get married on, which is interesting. And they say that that has a lot to do with that whole dark government agenda and money, banking, all this kind of stuff. But that's that's another whole other show. So as you keep evolving and growing in love, and healing as many emotions as you can, remembering that there's only love and fear and thousands of emotional wound resonances of fear, you then attract a newer person. And as you evolve and as you expand and as you grow, you don't necessarily have to be on a spiritual path. You can just, even if you're on a yogic path, or, however it is that you're doing your healing to be your best person that you can possibly be, you attract someone also, too, that is at an elevated state. And you know how they always say, too, you surround yourself with successful people if you want to be successful. Well, it's the same thing. So as you elevate to a new level of love, you start to understand, too, unconditional love. And you start to expand into a new awareness of what love is. And then the higher octaves of love begin to come down, which is compassion, which is actually a higher form of love. So it becomes an even more luminescent and even more powerful energy than if it were just, oh yeah, love, whatever,
It's
love.
Love,
Yeah.
not love, but love.
I was thinking Barry White there for a second.
So if you have a low vibration, you can still attract a soulmate, even though they might be of a low vibration as well?
Yes.
So see,
Absolutely.
Everybody out there, even if you got bad mojo, you can still have a soulmate.
Yeah. We're here to help each other grow, bottom line.
But in order to create this divine union or the higher level, I would think that you would need to be emotionally and spiritually whole or wholer.
Yes.
I mean, that would be kind of the goal, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, because that would be just like, you start working at a company and you're, the grunt, and then you end up, being the VP of the country or company or owning the company. It's the same thing. So it's different rungs of it and different parts for those who need the, sort of like a categorized part of it. So absolutely. And that's when you can look also into Tantra or sacred sex, which has been celebrated on the planet for thousands of years. And anyone who honors the goddess also knows this, because it's also time, too, that we remember and that we reclaim that women are also sacred, too. And women hold also the power and the co-creative powers as well. So this is a really incredible time. And as the divine feminine has returned to this planet and the divine mother now is no longer suppressed, it's not about who's better than the other. There's no such thing. But right now, we need more divine feminine to balance out the masculine. And as we balance it out completely now, it's not that we're going to move into a matriarchal type of a society, because we've been in a patriarchal one for thousands of years. It's that we're going to be in a balanced, which is completely whole within the masculine and the feminine essence. And as we evolve into this part, what happens is you also start to heal within your own masculine and your own feminine part, and you ignite the Shakti energy, which is the vibration or the frequency and the vibrant energy that flows through your body, which is also igniting the Kundalini. And what it does is it ignites the serpents of the Kundalini, which awaken each of the individual chakras and then eventually lead to brain illumination. And it's funny because that goes into the whole aspect, again, of divine sex or sacred sex. But it also, you heal it within yourself, and you become that inner marriage of the divine feminine masculine, which is also known as a hero scheme as well, too, which is then igniting the god and the goddess essence within. So you go male, female, then divine masculine, divine feminine, as you elevate and as you grow in your consciousness or in your energy or clearing your emotional wounds. And then eventually you get to a point where you ignite your god and your goddess essence. And once you ignite those parts, you embrace the divine sacred union, which can also be aligned in between the others as well. But what you have to remember is that it's always your choice how far you want to go. So for those of you who really want to go all the way, I mean, go for it. Because, again, it's like you're living in divine orgasmic ecstasy all the time. And the god and the goddess unite, and you embrace divine sacred union within yourself, which, of course, means that you would attract that to yourself in a partner as well. And sometimes when you meet a twin flame, it's a different energy than a soulmate, because it is almost an ignition or an inflame, like you become completely on fire. And what the twin flame does is it makes you want to be the absolute best person that you could possibly be.
But that's cool. That's a good thing.
It's a great thing. And, of course, as you do that, you heal your environment, you heal, your community, whatever the reflection is, that you are experiencing in that point of your life. Love. They say love means luminous, oneness, vibrating eternally.
So how can you tell if you're in a soulmate relationship versus a twin flame relationship versus a divine union? Come on, I want to know details. I am out there on the dating scene. I need to know this stuff.
It's a feeling. And again, I'm sorry to say it like this to you, but it's something that you will just know. But it's also, too, just look at it more in an aspect of what can I learn from this relationship, and to be fully present in the moment and go moment to moment within the relationship, not to think about what's coming up or, how long is this going to last, or what are we going to do in 5 months from now, but to be completely in the moment every single time, because then you're truly living in your full presence. You're truly honoring yourself, you're in your power, and you're experiencing life. And life becomes the adventure, and you're on the adventure with your soulmate or your twin flame.
I guess they think I'm funny. Thanks, everybody. I already had like one proposal in the chat room, right? Not a proposal.
Wow, that didn't take long.
10 minutes. That's it.
Wow.
Just 10 minutes. Anyway. Yeah.
That's quite
moving
the chat
along.
room.
Moving along. Can you have more than? I mean, you say you only have one twin flame, but that just seems. Or can you? All right, I'm getting a little bit confused because you said twin flames, and I asked you about
soulmate,
divine
and there's
unions.
twin flame. But then
Like I
one
know
that's
there's a
above
difference
it.
between soulmates and twin flames. That I know.
Yeah.
But then there's twin flames and this whole concept of divine union. So is divine union a concept and not necessarily a person?
Yes, it's a concept.
But why only one twin flame? I mean, that means that your chance of meeting your
You
twin
gotta
flame
take
in
that
your
one up with
lifetime
God.
is, I think winning the lottery might be easier.
Yeah, but again, it's like you said too, is what do you put into it? What is in your awareness of what you attract to you? So if you're in that space of, positive and it'll be easy and effortless for me to attract it, then it will be. But also too, what do you need to learn on your soul's growth? So we don't know that. That's divine will. So that's when you surrender to divine will. It you know what? It usually exceeds your expectations.
Okay, bring it on. That's all I can say. Bring it on.
I'd say you had an amazing relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, you clearly, I mean, you must be doing something right.
I know. What's with that? I'm like, I must have like good mojo or something.
I would think so.
So, but that's good. That's good. Anyway.
Wow, that chat room has really got you going there.
Well, all right. So, one guy wanted to date me. Now he just proposed to me online. So that's good. And then we had Brandon James say, "Whoa, is this IRN's version of Sex Talk with Sue? It caught my attention somewhere between orgasm and sacred sex."
Yeah, it's really incredible when you start talking about that, how people listen. It's quite something.
So, I mean, I know that in temples, that they had the temple girls or whatever,
Yeah,
that,
the sacred whores, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so what does that mean, sacred sex? Or, in antiquity, what was that about? We'll leave it back there. We won't bring it into present time.
All right. And it was the honor of the goddess, and what they would do is they would, instead of orgasming outwards, which they said is draining the battery, they would hold their orgasm and not release the seed and feel the energy pulsating upwards through the body, through each individual chakra, clearing it out, shifting and healing the frequency of it until it would reach the pituitary pineal gland in the center of the brain, and it would shoot off a spark of light, which would actually give you the arc of light over your head. This is what Jesus was always pictured or painted with an arc around his head, because it represented not that he was an angel, but that he had brain illumination and was connected in with the mind of God. But the way he got that was to be in sacred union, sacred sex with Mary Magdalene, because Mary Magdalene was actually a high priestess, which was also a sex priestess within the order of Isis, which was part of the Egyptian alchemy that was, I don't want to say at the time, because there's still people doing it this time, and reclaiming that and bringing it back into knowledge and healing. But that's what they were doing at that time. And what that does is it fuels the body, or the Ka body, which is your etheric double, and gives you more energy and power. And that's where parts of the miracles were coming through, because it was coming from their sacred union. And this, again, goes back to the whole aspect of the world elite wanting to shut you off from your divine birthright, which is brain illumination, being connected in with the mind of God and recognizing that you are God. So it's really incredible how it's shifted. And, of course, now knowing that Mary Magdalene was a sacred sexual high priestess, which was an extremely revered, very high honor at the time. They were all signified by the snake, that now it all makes sense why they called her a whore, because they wanted to basically write it out that it didn't exist. And again, through the whole manipulation of the church, that the woman and the body of the woman was not sacred, only the male. And that's what we're reclaiming at this time as well, too, with the return or the re-anchoring of the divine feminine. So it's not just a simple, oh, yeah, they were having sex in the temple. It was a little more than that. So, and then they used to also do it, too, at, is it Beltan? I believe that's what they call it, at the beginning in the springtime.
Oh, you just got a proposal.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was fast.
Told you, 10 minutes. You're around me.
Yeah, it's funny what happens when you start talking about sex.
Hey, you know that they say sex sells, so.
It's true, though. It's so true. And but, you know, it is, again, like we said earlier, it's time to bring into consciousness and awareness the truth behind it, that it isn't just, you know, for physical pleasure. There's just so much more to it. So, and understanding that, I mean, there's also different types of lineages that would also, while they're orgasming, visualize symbols and put them out into the universe so that they could electrify and help heal others as well, too. So there's just a lot more to it.
I mean, but it sounds like you're talking about, and I'm not that I'm an expert in this, but some Tantra type practices. I mean, would there be parallels to that?
I would think so. I don't know enough about Tantra to give you a full decryption of it, but yeah, it's definitely part of it.
But see, I think that's interesting. You know, I used to read a lot of, I guess, fantasy books, and guys, not that kind, you know, but, you know, like Lord of the Rings type fantasy books, you know, these quest and adventure type things with magicians. And in all of those books, you know, it was always the virgin priestess, you know, and if she had sex, you know, she wasn't going to be able to do her task because there was something about not having sex that made her hold her energy. And I just find it interesting that what you're talking about is totally the opposite. Or was it back in those days that they had both?
Well, you could say the Middle Ages got it wrong, and so did the Dark Ages, and all through all that time. They were trying to suppress it. And that's why they were trying to make it dirty and make it, you know, so that it's an ugly, dirty, nasty thing, which it isn't, because it is a beautiful thing. And, you know, not that when it's done right, but when you're doing it with someone that, you know, you truly love, and or you're even trying it through divine sacred union or sacred sex, it's a whole other ballgame, and it feels totally different than if you're just, you know, releasing. So anything that you do that's sacred, or you do, you know, you can even do an invocation before, and there's many different things that you can do with it. I guess I can say it. I'm also I'm writing now too for a erotica magazine, which is called In Your Bed, or In My Bed, and I'm actually writing about this topic right now for my next article, which is on sex magic, and, you know, reliving, reclaiming, and bringing back the sacredness, revealing, helping to reconnect and transcend these old emotions or these old belief systems that have been buried in the psyche for thousands of years, that is time to be revealed and transmuted. So, and to think, too, like, for how many thousands of years Mary Magdalene knew what she was, but never spoke up and just let everybody call her a whore, even though she knew she wasn't. And it's funny to me, too, because the first time I'd ever had heard the story, I was probably 6 or 7, and I was in a Catholic school, and that was the first time I'd ever even heard the word whore. And I thought, why would they use a word like that and be so instrumental and so like they had to say that word in everything, everywhere? I just couldn't figure it out, and I thought, something's wrong here. And, you know, I went through Catholic school, but I took in, I think it was grade 11, I took a religion class that changed my life forever, which introduced, you know, to Buddhism and Hinduism and spirituality and the natives, and that was it for me. I was like, no, you need to respect everything, everyone, every animal, and, you know, just, you know, be kind, be generous with everybody, not just a certain specific group of people.
I don't mean to be laughing, and I'm so not laughing at you, Charlotte.
Fine.
No, but you should. The chat room is like freaking out of control.
Hopping, I'm sure. What? Sex? What?
Oh, no, wait. All right, hang on. Let's see. So they're getting a little bothered. How's that? And so you started talking about symbols. You know, they were supposed to talk, you know, and...
You know, they want to know what the symbol is?
Oh, no. So wait a minute. Hang on, because it was pretty funny. I'm supposed to visualize symbols while orgasming. What? WTF? And so, you know, I had to play, you know, baseball, apple pie.
Oh, gosh. That's a...
Well, it's gone downhill from there. Anyway.
It is funny, though. I get a good laugh out of it, too. But, you know, the beauty of it is that, you know, maybe we planted a seed. Just planted a seed, and who knows, you know, maybe in 5 months, 5 days, 5 hours, that person will walk down the street somewhere and go, oh, my God, I get it. I totally understand what that woman was talking about. So that's what matters. I mean, we're here to talk about these things, to bring them to the light, no longer burying them in our subconscious and suppressing them. That time is over. So let's bring it to the light. Let's heal it. Let's embrace it.
Well, but it seems like in America, people are so uptight anyway. You know, you hear, I mean, I haven't ever been other than like going to Bermuda, you know, but that in Europe, people are much more relaxed about sex and their bodies. And we're in the United States, people are just freaking uptight.
Wow. That's so funny you say that because I never thought that. So I would find that in the Midwest for sure, but I totally get what you're saying. And again, it's just, you attract, you know, whoever needs to hear this is going to hear it. And what they do with the information, you know, either they hold it for themselves and then at some point it'll trigger them in the future and help them also heal some of their emotional wounds. That's amazing. You know, people can laugh at it now, but, you know, the first way that you start to change or revolutionize the world is to stand up and stand in your power and just, you know, let's face this, let's deal with it.
But, you know, I think if people stood in their power, I mean, there are so many forces, I'm going to say it differently, there are so many forces right now trying to keep people out of their power, that if people actually stood in their power, the world would change. It would have to change.
But it's already changing because there are so many people who are standing in their power. So it's just a few. You know, they say that 100 monkey effect, right? So it just takes that few to really own it and own their presence and just be it and show up and be there completely 100% to ignite other people as well, too. Because you can lift a room with your vibration. You don't even need to say anything. You just walk into a room and a room can shift. So if one person can do that, imagine if we keep doing it and that 100 monkey effect takes effect. Wow. And we're starting to approach that level. It's happening. I mean, look what we did with that whole drama with Syria when they wanted to go into war and how everybody stood there at the ground and said no. That was an amazing time. Things will shift. And I found it so interesting. How could they want to go to war and then a few weeks later shut down the government? Like, come on.
But that's just part of the control and manipulation. You know, it's like, well, if you're not going to give me what I want, I'm going to take all of my toys and go home. I mean, that's how it felt.
It's so true. But it was amazing because on so many levels it exposed so many parts of the manipulation and the media and the social conscious, everything. It shifted so many things and so fast. It was quite incredible.
Yeah, and it just kept changing every day. It's like, well, we're going to do this, but maybe not. But it seems like that with everything. You know, I have Ted Torbridge. So next week I have Jesse Ventura coming on and then Ted Torbridge coming on talking about false flags in the second hour. And one of the questions that I have for him is if some of the things that are happening around the world are actually ploys by the government to manipulate the population, it doesn't seem like they're working as well anymore. Like they're doing this stuff and people are going, you ran it, you did it, and they're not getting the same bang for their buck.
It's so true. And that's a really great question, especially, too, when you're looking at where they have one of those conspiracies right now, too, about how the CIA created the whole Al-Qaeda thing. It's just an operation. It doesn't exist. So there's many things. There's so many false flag operations till the cows come home. And staged events, too. The media manipulation. It's like that movie, Wag the Dog, from a couple of years ago. And I got to say, too, I've been in the movie industry. I spent over 10 years in the film industry, and I've worked on some top-tier Hollywood blockbusters. And I can tell you, it's all BS. So a lot of it's amazing what goes on film sets. And it really hasn't changed that much in the last 10 years with all the technology. But, to have the honor and the ability to work on these kind of movies was so incredible for me, because it really helped, moving now into the future and doing this work. It really gives you a greater sense or a greater awareness of, the media. It's quite wild in the movies and everything. It's really incredible.
I just don't understand how or why, the media just, the media is supposed to be the media. The newspaper, that was their original agenda, was to report the news. But, they don't, they can't, whatever word you want to put for their inability to really tell the truth.
Yeah. And what's interesting, too, is they said before it used to be, I can't exactly remember the number. It was 5,000 or 6,000 different independents that owned news stations or different types of media outlets. And now there's only 5 or 6. So that is major manipulation. They're only letting you know or telling you what they want you to know. They're not telling you what's really going on. And that's why we've seen all these incredible websites just pop up, like InfoWars and all these conspiracy theories. Jesse Ventura's show as well, too. You're not going to see that in the regular newspapers or on any type of, daytime television. So it's amazing that these people are doing this incredible work and stepping in and owning their power. And, Jesse is a phenomenal example of that. And it's, I can only imagine what he experienced, too, being a governor and then seeing everything on the inside, and now to see what he's doing. It's amazing. So there's many people who are trying their best to help to bring the real news to light and to really let you know and to pay attention and to think and to be aware. It's not that they want you to think about what they said is right. They just want you to think.
But so many people are not.
Yeah, but again, it's not as many as you think. And there's, you can also say, too, there's some of the closet ones that, they won't go public with it, but they're very aware. And it's amazing to me, too, how many, like through my travels and, when I'm going to different cities on tour and lecturing and all this kind of stuff or reading or whatever, the people that I'm meeting and what they're aware of is unbelievable. But they just, again, it's like that 100 monkey effect. We're just still at that point where there's many people, but people are starting to wake up. People are starting to understand it. But now they're also embracing their power, going through whatever lessons they need to, or alchemy or whatever in their own lives, and saying, this isn't making sense to me. And the only way anything is going to change if I do something about it. So I truly have been seeing many people starting to step up and step into their power. So it is happening. And it's an amazing sight to be a part of that. And that's why I love doing what I do, because I'm not just a psychic. I go way beyond that. And I really help to try to help people ignite their souls and see, there's another way. It doesn't have to be, it's not my way, it's just there's another way.
Well, and I think if people just follow their heart, and follow the direction that they're given, then they're going to do things that are congruent for them, whether it's a small step or a big step.
Exactly.
And not do, what they think they should do, but what they're able to do.
And that's where animals come in, too, as such a huge, you want to talk about an amazing contract through the Akashic Records, is dogs and cats and horses, because they come in with absolute unconditional love. Their heart chakras don't even exist anymore. They don't have heart chakras because they are all heart. They are completely all heart. And they're here to help us, too, to reclaim that aspect within ourselves. So our animal brothers and sisters are a very important part of our evolution as well, too. And they're also the next species to evolve karmically as well, too. So it's really dynamic. Love. It's all about love. It's like the John Lennon song, All You Need Is Love. And it's not hokey. And it makes me laugh when I hear all these, love, like you were saying in the chat room. But you know what? It's the one thing that makes everybody stop dead in their tracks. It is one of the most single, important, most amazing energies that exists. I don't even want to say on the planet, but in this universe. It's what ties us all together.
They're like totally blaming me in the chat room. You guys are mean. See, it's like, you guys are mean. I didn't do it. You have to take ownership for your own emotional energy. Thank you very much.
Yes.
God.
It's right. Stop blaming others for your problems and
go take a cold
up.
shower.
We've all done it. Take back your power, and you'll be amazed at how your life changes.
Anyway, where are we? We've got 15 minutes. So let's see. One more topic. Let's see.
Okay.
I don't know. We kind of talked about that.
So much.
Well, we're kind of talking about government shifts, and so one of the things that I had written down was about astrology and government shifts. So, I mean, are there any indicators that you're noticing that there's stuff coming up?
Several. And we went just through a huge one right now, which was the Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, which was absolutely insane. This was probably one of the craziest Mercury retrogrades I can remember in years. And I don't react anymore to this kind of stuff. I just, I'm aware that Mercury's going retrograde, so I'm not going to freak out. I'll just embrace it. But this one, because it was in Scorpio, and of course Scorpio is the sign of everything, the alpha to the omega, and it also represents the shadow, it means that a lot of shadow activity, covert operations, covert governments, shadow governments, evil agendas, whatever, are all coming out and surfacing. And that's exactly what's happening. So you're going to see over the coming days, weeks, and months, anything that has been suppressed either through the media, as of course Mercury is representing communication, computers, media, and everything, is all coming to the forefront and is going to be dealt with or is going to be exposed. And it's just time. It's karma. This can't go on much longer. I mean, it's been going on since, the 14th century? So it's time this stuff comes to a head. And because of karma, because of the Akashic Records, it will. And that's not because it's our will infusing it. It is divine will. So astrology is incredible because it gives you an indication of what is shifting or what is coming up. And it's not like, oh, you're Pisces and I'm an Aries, so let's get together and make some music. No, it's way more than that. And the interesting thing about astrology is that the powers that be use it. They use it to their advantage. And if you want a really great example of it, look when they invaded Iraq. Look when the Arab Springs happened. It all happened exactly on the spring equinox. And that is when you want to, if you want to start any project or any type of, and I'll just say war, and I don't mean it to be desensitized, but it was a project or an operation, if you want to call it. You start it on the equinox. You plant the seed, you go for it. So they use astrology to their benefit, and then they debunk it to make you think that it's just a load of crap. And, what's amazing about it is it isn't. And the interesting thing about it is now with the reintroduction, and I say reintroduction of the 13th symbol, and I always say it wrong, Opidicus. I haven't perfected that one yet, which is the serpent healer. It represents bringing back the divine feminine. And it's the healer, the wounded healer being embraced, transmuted, transformed. It's always been there. It's just, again, was like kind of written out of society or was written out of the history books. Because we all know when there's an invasion or whatever, they always rewrite history to reflect what they think is how things should have been. So with astrology, everything shifted this past year into 2013, and the higher expression of each individual sign shifted. So the example I can give you is, let's look at Capricorn. Capricorn was known before as the stern father symbol, the sign of karma, and around 2006 or so, it had shifted into the world teacher. And as of 2013, the male aspect of it, where the stern father and the karma, has shifted over to, I believe, is Jupiter, and it's the rightful home. And also, Capricorn elevated itself to its highest expression, which is now the inner guru. So it means that the whole world is going through a massive shift right now, and 2013 has been an incredible year of shifts. If you've noticed, a lot of people having ascension symptoms or being sick or just on and off the flu or whatever, because they were energetically dumping out and shifting their vibrational frequency. So it was almost like a year of transmuting everything before we could move into anchoring all the new stuff through 2014 and 15. But the other thing that just happened in the last few weeks was the Pluto-Uranus square. If you want to know more about that, then I would invite you to look at Barbara Hand Clow's website. I believe it's Astroflash. She writes an article about it for each Uranus-Pluto square. And we are having 7 of these happen between the year 2012 and 2015. And they're extremely important because the last time they happened was in 1933 when Hitler came into power. And it basically represents a shift in power. Uranus is the planet of unexpected change, and Pluto is the planet of death and transformation, but not physical death. So it means absolute shifting immediately. And about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I can't exactly remember the date off the top of my head right now, we had the apex, or the 4th, Uranus-Pluto square happen, which was the one that had the most power and the most effective. And it represents, again, a shift, a total shift in consciousness, but also, too, that whatever's going on right now, whatever's hidden, whatever is in the shadows, whatever, it all comes to the light, and it's time to change it. So they can do what they want. They know what's coming up because they also know, they read astrology, they understand astrology, they know what it means. But you can't fight karma, and you can't fight divine will. It's going to happen. So all, again, I just want to say is pay attention. Take a look at it. Take another look at astrology and look beyond the whole thing about, do we match, or are we romantically good for each other? There's way more to it. And if you keep your eyes open and you just look at it and start to understand, your whole life changes. Because, again, it's about perception. So astrology is a fascinating tool. I've been looking now into galactic astrology, and since I found out I was born on a new moon solar eclipse, which is so rare, it's insane. And it's on my 38th birthday, I also had another new moon solar eclipse land on my birthday, which was, again, to have that once in a lifetime is rare enough, but to have it twice and to be born on one is pretty wild. So it was an activation, and with it comes the gift also, too, of X-ray vision. But when I found out that I had been born on a new moon solar eclipse, that's when I really had gotten into astrology because I wanted to know what it meant. And it was absolutely fascinating. So I really urge you all, pick up a book, read about it, Google it, look at spiritual astrology. Google that. You'll be amazed at some of the things that come up. There's some really phenomenal writers out there, too, that, they've dedicated their life to this. And Jan Spiller is one of them, and definitely Barbara Hand Clow. She really understands the whole astrological aspects of it, but especially with the Uranus-Pluto square. And she did a phenomenal write-up also, too. She'd always have one during I believe it was the new moons, on her website as well, but she's no longer doing that. And through the Mayan calendar, which was just absolutely fascinating. And it was just amazing to read it and to see it actually taking place on the world stage. It was very cool.
I love Barbara. We've had her on the show several times. But, this year my birthday fell on a blue moon.
Oh, cool.
So that was really cool. And like my mom's birthday fell because I guess there's 2 different definitions for blue moons. Mm-hmm. And so this year is like the real blue moon versus the fake blue moon. And and so my mom's birthday was on one blue moon when the moon was the closest to the earth. Mine was on the second blue moon. And then I think there was a third one in October.
Anyway. And there was a whole series of them, too, that were supermoons as well.
Right, which, right. And that's what I was talking about. Not for another 157 years.
Wow. So that was definitely an activation.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be cool to know what moon it was or what sign it was in when you had it. When is your birthday?
August.
You don't have to give me the year. Can you give me the day?
21st. So send those cards and letters, everybody.
Yeah, really. What's wrong with you people? You're proposing to her, but you won't send her cards or flowers? What's wrong with you guys?
Cash. We like cash. Hit the donation button on the Just Energy Radio page.
Well, brought to you by, I mean, you have a fabulous program. You have amazing guests, and I'm so honored to be a guest. You know, years ago, I came across your radio show on your website, and I remember seeing it, and I thought, wow, that looks so amazing. And if I ever get to a point where I could ever be a guest on that show, that would be so amazing. And that was a few years ago, and look at us now.
We're just like hanging out.
Yeah, it's so cool, and it's just such an honor to be here, and I'm so happy.
Well, I love you to death, so there. But
yay!
We have,
that's amazing.
3 minutes till the music rolls, so 3 minutes.
Oh, shameless self-promotion time.
That's right. So talk about your articles that you're doing, your webpage, your tour thing that's coming up, everything.
Oh, thank you so much. So if you want to know more or check things out or see what's going on in my, dimensional space, please visit charlottesivak.com. And I'm sure, for those of you who don't know how to spell it, I'm sure the lovely Rita will have it up, Szivak. But also, too, I'm now working with an amazing company out of Norway called Spiritual Quest Journeys, and we've teamed up, and I've become a journey leader for them, and we're going to different sacred sites across the planet, and we're doing activations and tours and spiritual journeys and everything. So we're traveling to places like Avalon and Bali and Easter Island, and our next one coming up will be in February, which is to Sedona, Arizona, and of course in May we're going to be going to Egypt for 2 weeks, which is going to be incredible. Our tour guides that we have with us are just so phenomenal. They live across the street from the Sphinx, and they're part of a family or a lineage. The word wasn't coming out. I apologize. And that has guarded and watched over the Sphinx for centuries. So I'm really looking forward to this incredible experience. And what's really cool about it is this time when we go to Egypt, we're going to be looking at the whole Divine Mother Goddess and the Holy Grail lineage and having some extremely powerful activations, Majesty of the Stars, and we're also going to be looking at, yes, doing some sexual alchemy, but not actually practicing it. So while we're on the journey. So if you want to know more about that, too, please check out spiritualquestjourneys.com or just go on my webpage, charlottesivak.com, and you'll find it. It'll be on the menu saying about the journeys, or on the front page. There's a link right to it, so you can download the itinerary and all the information. And the beauty, this is a really cool thing I'm doing now, too. This just blows my mind, and I'm so honored to do it, is that I'm now writing a column for an erotica magazine called In My Bed. And the column is called The Divine O, and it's all about changing this whole myth about sexuality and, you know, reclaiming that sacredness for all of us and to embrace the healing that comes with it. So it's been just a joy to write it, and it's really helping many people. I've been receiving some really amazing emails from people who have read it, and they're just inspired to, you know, grow. They're inspired to do more work towards healing themselves. So it's really incredible. And then we have my radio show, too, which you're coming on.
Okay, but very quick, because I know the music is going to be coming up as we speak. So when's your show?
Oh, Goddess Alchemy and Divine Magic. So, but you can also find that on the website. So it's all there.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for coming on. This was so much fun. And the chat room
it was my pleasure.
Was into it.
And it was great to hold the space for you, too, as you got all those several marriage proposals.
It's just, a day in the life of Dr. Rita. I'm used to it. Anyway, well, you have a great night, and I will talk to you again soon.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. That's Charlotte Szivak. Her webpage is charlotteszivak.com. And next week, we have a special Thanksgiving show where we're going to have former Governor Jesse Ventura on, as well as Inception Radio's Ted Torbich. So please tune into the show. If you don't, everyone have a happy Thanksgiving. And until next time, be blessed.
Join host Dr. Rita Louise each week at this time for Just Energy Radio.